Guys, welcome to your 5-Minute Friday series, where we learn how to use properties that we may not fully understand or never heard of before in 5 minutes or less. And in this episode, we're going to be looking at the box sizing property. So since the dawn of CSS, the box model has worked a little like this. You've got width plus padding plus border equals actual visible rendered width of an element's box, and then it's similar with height plus padding plus border actual visible rendered height of an element's box. Now this can be a little bit counterintuitive, since the width and the height you set for an element pretty much both go out the window as soon as you start adding padding and borders to the element. And that's because by default in the CSS box model, the width and height you assign to an element is applied only to the element's content box. If the element has any border or padding, this is then added to the width and height to arrive at the size of the box that's rendered on the screen. To fix this, we bring in the box size property to adjust this behavior, and this has two possible values. You've got the content box and the border box. And now what we're going to do is jump into VS Code just to see this in action. Alright guys, so we're in VS Code, and as you can see I've already prepared a few things for us. So we've got a folder here called box sizing tutorial, and then inside the folder we've got two files of index.html and style.css, and then I've linked the style sheet, given this a title, and then underneath that we've got a div with the ID of ruler, and this is pretty much just going to act as a measurement standard for us. And then underneath the ruler div we've got two divs here with the ID of content box and then border box, and these are just going to act as our examples. And then inside the style sheet we've just got some general styling for the div with the ID of ruler. So we're just going to open this up in live server to see what it looks like. So the first value we're going to be looking at is the content box value. So what we're going to do is just grab the div with the ID of content box, and we're just going to give this the same styling as the ruler because that is acting as our measurement. And we'll just change the background color to red. And what we'll do is just put in here box sizing content box, and this is just default, so nothing will change. Watch what happens when I add some padding. So I'm just going to add some padding to the right of this, so it's just going to be 30 pixels, and then also going to add a border, so border right, let's just add 20 pixels here. It's a big border but just for the demonstration purposes, and we'll just make this black. Now the obvious issue here is that the content spans further out than we want, beyond our desired width, which is 600 pixels, same as the ruler. And essentially what's happened now is that the extra pixels that we've added on here on the padding right and the border right has been added onto this width. So you can actually see this if we open this up in Inspector Tools. So we'll just grab it here and we'll go on computed, and you can see the content of 600 pixels plus the padding of 30 pixels plus the border of 20 pixels. So altogether now it's 650 pixels, which isn't what we want. We want the width, we want our content to be 600 pixels, not 650 pixels. And that's the reason that content now is spanned further out than this, and we actually need this scroll bar here just to see the rest of the content. Now another issue that you might run into later with this is that you're going to have to add up all the extra pixels of padding and border you add on to the content, which can become a little bit complex, but we can actually eliminate this issue pretty quickly and pretty much take away any math you might need to do later on, and that's going to be bringing in the border box value. So we're just going to grab that, so it has an ID of border box. And what we're going to do is just give it the same styling as the content box, change the color to blue, and then instead of content box we're going to give it a border box. Now we're just going to give it the same padding right of 30 pixels, and then we're just going to give this also a border right of 20 pixels solid green. And as you can see with this styling, the width stays the same. It's inside the parameters of the ruler, and there's no scroll bar at the bottom. And to demonstrate why this has happened, we're just going to go in the Inspector tool again. So we'll just grab the border box. And as you can see, what's essentially happened is that the extra padding that you've added on has been subtracted away from the original content, so that way it stays 600 pixels. So as you can see, the 30 plus 20, 50, take away 600 is 550. So that way it just keeps your content at the width that you've initially wanted. And that's essentially how box sizing border box works, guys. It just keeps the content you initially wanted while adding on padding and borders. Just want to quickly add too, guys, that you'll likely see box sizing, or you've probably seen box sizing border box at the start. So the asterisk here that you see just pretty much is like a universal selector. It just grabs hold of everything inside your HTML document. So that's why you see box size and border box. essentially now all the elements now have a border box value. However, it is also important to apply the asterisk to the pseudo selectors. That way it gives the value of box size in border box to the pseudo selectors, because on its own it won't. But that's it for this video, guys. If you do like the content, please hit the like button and please consider subscribing, and I'll see you in the next 5 Minute Friday series.